She walks into a room and no one notices. She speaks, and silence answers back. There's no circle of friends waiting for her call, no invitations lighting up her phone. A woman with no friends. At first glance, it sounds like a story of loneliness. But look again. It's the story of strength most people never recognize. She didn't choose isolation. She chose growth. When she stopped pretending, many walked away. When she set boundaries, people called her difficult. When she prioritized peace over popularity, the world called her distant. But she didn't flinch, she stayed true. In a world obsessed with connection, she chose authenticity. Not everyone understood her standards, but she stood by them. And while others crowded rooms for validation, she created space for self-respect. That silence you see? It's not emptiness, it's power. True friendship doesn't come from availability, it comes from alignment. And until she meets those who respect her energy, she'll walk alone, not in weakness, but with purpose. Some walk with crowds, others carve paths. She's doing the latter. Choosing solitude is not weakness, it's a commitment to self-respect. In a world that often equates constant social interaction with emotional health, solitude is misunderstood. People assume that if you're alone, you must be lonely. But that's not always true. Sometimes solitude is a deliberate decision, not born from rejection, but from reflection. It is a choice to turn inward, to listen to the quiet voice inside, rather than the endless noise outside. It's the decision to no longer chase validation from people who don't understand your value. When someone chooses solitude, they are often reclaiming their space. It is an act of protecting their peace, especially after realizing how easily energy can be drained by empty conversations, superficial friendships, or one-sided relationships. It's recognizing that constant connection isn't always connection. It can be distraction. It can be a way to avoid facing the discomfort of your own thoughts. But those who are brave enough to sit in silence learn something profound about themselves. They don't need an audience to be whole. They don't need approval to feel worthy. There's immense power in choosing your own company. It's not about shutting the world out. It's about refusing to let it define your worth. It's about saying no to relationships that come with conditions and expectations that shrink who you are. It's about building a foundation within yourself that isn't shaken by who stays or leaves. This kind of solitude builds inner stability, something no amount of socializing can offer. People who walk alone with intention are not isolated. They are focused. They're not cold-hearted, they're careful about who gets access to their life. This isn't arrogance, it's awareness, it's emotional intelligence. They know that not every invitation deserves a yes, not every person deserves a seat at their table. Choosing solitude is not running away, it's standing still while the world runs in circles. It's knowing that your time, energy, and emotional space are precious, and choosing to spend them wisely. Boundaries often push away those who are never truly aligned with your values. This is not a loss, it is a revelation. When you begin to set standards for how you want to be treated, some people will resist. Not because your boundaries are wrong, but because they can no longer benefit from your lack of them. The moment you say a no, the moment you express a need, a limit, or a preference, the dynamics shift. Some people who once appeared close will start to distance themselves. It hurts at first, but what's really happening is clarity. What once was tolerated is now being questioned. People who only stayed for comfort, convenience, or control will find your boundaries uncomfortable. They may call you selfish, dramatic, or too sensitive. They may say you've changed. But the truth is, you've simply started honoring yourself. Fidel. And when you stop shrinking yourself to keep others comfortable, the ones who needed you small will feel threatened. They weren't there for your truth. They were there for your silence. And when your voice rises, they leave. Boundaries are not walls to isolate. They are filters for alignment. They reveal who's genuinely there to walk beside you and who was only there for the version of you that was easy to manage. You begin to see clearly who respects your space, who honors your time, and who understands your heart. And while the circle may shrink, it grows stronger. Fewer, but real. Smaller, but deeper. Letting go of those misaligned is not rejection. It is realignment. It is choosing authenticity over approval. It is understanding that keeping people around by betraying yourself is not love, it's fear. And fear has no place in a life of purpose. You don't lose people when you set boundaries, you lose illusions. And in that clearing, you gain peace. You gain energy. You gain the quiet joy of living life on your terms. The ones who remain, the ones who lean in instead of stepping back, those are your people. And they don't just accept your boundaries, they respect them, because they see not just what you offer, but who you are. Authenticity can be isolating, but it's also liberating. Choosing to be your true self in a world that constantly pushes you to conform is an act of quiet rebellion. It means showing up without the masks, without the scripted smiles, without saying what people want to hear just to be accepted. It often comes with the discomfort of being misunderstood, of losing connections that were only ever attached to a version of you that wasn't fully real. When you stop performing and start being honest about your feelings, your values, and your needs, you risk being seen as different. And difference can be lonely. But that loneliness has depth. It isn't the emptiness of having no one around. It's the clarity of knowing who's truly meant to be in your life. Not everyone is prepared to accept the real you. Some were only comfortable with your silence, your compromise, or your constant yes. When you break away from that role, it unsettles the expectations they had of you. They might leave. They might criticize. And that's okay, because you are no longer interested in playing a part in someone else's comfort zone at the cost of your peace. There is freedom in walking own path. It allows you to breathe without pretending. You begin to attract people, opportunities, and environments that resonate with your truth, not your image. You stop chasing approval and start choosing alignment. And in that space, even if it's quiet at first, something powerful happens. You begin to like yourself more. You trust yourself more. You live with integrity, even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs you connection. The isolation that comes with authenticity isn't punishment. It's purification. It separates what was never real and reveals what truly matters. You become lighter, more focused, more at peace. And while not everyone will understand your path, it no longer matters, because authenticity doesn't guarantee popularity, but it does guarantee peace. And peace is the foundation of a meaningful life. You may walk alone sometime, but you walk in truth, and that's a journey worth taking. External validation is not the measure of internal worth. Yet so many live their lives chasing likes, applause, compliments, and approval as if their value depends on it. When others praise them, they feel worthy. When others ignore or criticize them, they feel broken. But true self-worth doesn't come from outside. It grows from within. Depending on the opinions of others to feel good about yourself is like building a house on shifting sand. One moment you're admired, the next you're doubted. And if your self-esteem is tied to that cycle, your confidence will rise and fall with every comment, every judgment, every silence. There's a quiet strength in validating yourself. It means knowing who you are and standing firm in that identity, even when no one claps. It means recognizing your growth, your effort, and your values without waiting for someone to notice. It means showing up for yourself even when others don't show up for you. External recognition may feel good, but it's temporary. It can't replace the steady, quiet belief you must have in yourself. When you live for validation, you lose authenticity. You begin to shape your life around expectations, not principles. You say what sounds good instead of what you truly mean. You do what's popular instead of what's right for you. And slowly, without even realizing it, you trade your voice for approval. But approval can be taken away. What is your set? And when it is, you're left with emptiness unless you've cultivated something deeper, self-respect. Validation from others should be appreciated, not required. It's a bonus, not a foundation. The people who truly know their worth aren't the ones with the loudest praise, but the ones with the quietest confidence. They're grounded. They don't need to prove themselves constantly. They trust their intentions, their actions, and their growth, even when no one else notices. They move forward with clarity, not out for recognition, but for purpose. And that kind of strength can't be given or taken by others. It has to come from within. When you stop chasing validation, you start building character. And character is far more valuable than popularity. True connection comes from alignment, not availability. Being physically present in someone's life doesn't always mean you're emotionally or spiritually connected. Just because someone is always around doesn't mean they're truly with you. Real connection runs deeper than shared time or daily conversations. It comes from shared values, mutual respect, and an unspoken understanding that exists even in silence. It's not about who's most accessible, it's about who genuinely sees you, supports you, and matches your energy with honesty and intention. People often confuse frequent communication with closeness. They think someone who responds quickly, who shows up at every event, or who checks in constantly must care deeply. But presence without alignment can be hollow. It can be comforting on the surface, yet draining underneath. Some people are available because they enjoy the convenience of your presence, not because they understand or value who you are. Others may not speak to you every day, but carry your best interest in their heart. That's the difference alignment makes. Next. When your relationships are built on alignment, they feel effortless, not because they require no work, but because they're grounded in something real. There's no need to constantly explain yourself, no pressure to entertain or impress. You can show up as you are, and they do the same. There's room for growth, space for truth, and mutual freedom to evolve without guilt. That's connection. It doesn't demand, it supports. It doesn't judge, it listens. It doesn't just stay, it aligns. In contrast, relationships without alignment often feel like performance. You wear masks to keep the peace. You suppress your needs to avoid tension. You stay close but feel distant. And eventually, you start losing yourself just to keep someone else dear. That's not connection, it's attachment. And attachment without alignment only leads to confusion and exhaustion. The ones who truly connect with you won't just be available. They'll resonate with you. They'll challenge you to grow, not control how you grow. They'll honor your space and respect your truth. And even if they're not always physically close, you'll feel their presence where it matters most, in how you feel when you're with them, and in who you become because of them. Walking alone with clarity is better than walking with crowds without purpose. In a world that celebrates popularity over purpose, many people choose the crowd simply because they fear standing alone. They move in the direction everyone else is going, not because it feels right, but because it's familiar, accepted, and safe. But safety in numbers doesn't guarantee fulfillment. When you walk with the crowd, you may belong externally but feel lost internally. You may move faster but not forward. You may be surrounded yet disconnected from yourself. Clarity, on the other hand, brings focus. It gives meaning to every step, even when the path is empty. But walking alone doesn't mean being aimless. It means being intentional. It means tuning out the noise to hear your own voice. It means making decisions based on values, not trends. Yeah. And while the road may be quieter, it is also more honest. You're no longer moving to keep up. You're moving in alignment with your truth. There's strength in choosing solitude when the crowd is going in a direction that doesn't serve your soul. It takes courage to say, "This isn't for me," and to turn away from approval in order to walk toward purpose. Many fear the silence of being alone, but that silence often carries the answers that noise tries to bury. It reveals who you are without influence, what you believe without persuasion, and where you're headed without distraction. Crowds offer comfort, but they can also blur your vision. You begin to second-guess your instincts, follow paths that weren't meant for you, and carry weights that aren't yours to bear. But when you walk alone with clarity, you are free. Free to stop when you need rest, to change direction when you feel growth, and to choose the pace that suits your journey. You become the author of your path rather than a follower in someone else's. Being alone is not failure. Wandering with no direction, even in good company, is. It's far more fulfilling to walk a quiet path that leads to purpose than to be cheered by many while walking in the wrong direction. Clarity may cost you company, but it will never cost you yourself. So if you find yourself walking alone, don't rush to fill the silence. Listen to it. Trust it. Let it guide you, because clarity isn't found in crowds, it's found in courage. The courage to choose direction over distraction, purpose over popularity, and truth over comfort. In the end, it's not about how many walk with you, but how true the path is beneath your feet. Keep walking, not for approval, not for noise, but for meaning. Because the journey that honors your truth is always worth it, even if you walk it alone.